So before the video does start, I do have a few important things that I need to mention. Number one, I just recently got an entirely new PC, thankfully to you guys here on YouTube, the people on Twitch, and everyone using my supporter creator code. This thing is around $3,000, is a huge upgrade from what I previously had, and what I previously had is my dad's birthday present, don't tell him. And yeah, this video should be in 1080p 60 frames per second, which is a huge difference for my normal stuff, and that also applies to my live streams. Number two, yesterday was my birthday, so I'm 20 years old now, and you owe me a birthday present. Get it to me by the end of the week or I will steal your V-Bucks. And number three, you may be hearing a bell in the background of this commentary as well as some cat noises. That's because it's my cat. So just kind of ignore that and enjoy the video and all that cool stuff. What? Aaron just slapped my mic. Don't do that. Alrighty boys, welcome back once again to another video. How you guys doing? Guys, today we're going to be talking about the Santa's Little Helper versus the Metal Marauder within Fortnite Save the World. So basically today's video is going to be pitting together two different rocket launchers that are both really good and kind of trying to determine, well, which one is the best. And it's been a very long time since I've done a versus type of video. I've honestly gotten very bored with the review style of video that I've been doing recently with just weapon reviews and hero reviews, so I want to do something a little bit more in depth and something a little bit different in today's video and just take a look at two different weapons, pit them against each other, and kind of get what you guys think in the comments down below on top of my own opinion. I do apologize for this video coming out so late. Yesterday was actually my birthday and I was extremely busy, so this video is probably coming out like 2 days later than I would have liked. So yeah, I do apologize for that, but I still wanted to get the video out because it's something different and I figured it'd be really fun, and I kind of want to gauge and see what you guys think in the comments down below of this kind of style of video. But let's go ahead and jump into it. So in today's video, like I said, we are talking about the Metal Marauder versus the Santa's Little Helper. The Metal Marauder being the newest rocket launcher to come to the game, which is part of the Black Metal set, and the Santa's Little Helper, which was the Christmas weapon from last year, which is most notably one of the best rocket launchers in the entire game. Before we do jump into that, if you guys do want to pick up the Metal Marauder because it's a fairly new weapon, you can get it from the weekly shop for 1680 gold, and you guys only have a few more days to pick this up if you haven't already. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So I did a bunch of testing with both of these rocket launchers in different scenarios. I've most recently been using the Mythic Storm King to kind of help me test some damage values here and there, and I figured that it was a pretty reliable way to see kind of the amount of damage that you can do with a certain weapon. Now, with the Metal Marauder being a part of the Black Metal set, it gave us a lot of different things to try out with the weapon. If we go ahead and take a look at the perks on my Metal Marauder, it's got this: stunning or knocking back an enemy reduces your current health and deals extra damage based on the percentage of your missing health in a 3/4 tile radius, and this can occur every 6 seconds. Basically, it's like another mini explosion. We got crit damage, crit rating, physical, crit damage, and then adds up to 80% bonus damage on a percentage of your missing health. And that final perk right there is kind of like a staple in all of the Black Metal weapons. And because of this, I was actually able to get a lot of different data on how much damage this rocket launcher can truly do. So I'm going to go ahead and throw up a bunch of different tests that I did on screen. I did tests with Archaeologist with no support team, and I did tests with Demo Penny with a full support team that is for launcher damage. So first up, we have the Metal Marauder with the Archaeologist low on health, meaning that I'm getting that bonus damage based off that last perk, and we're able to hit upwards of 1.28 million. Then I use the Metal Marauder whenever I'm full on health with Archaeologist, and you'll see that the damage drops by about 400,000 to 876,000 in terms of the damage that you're actually putting out. I went ahead and tested this with Penny, and it was practically the same thing. Metal Marauder on Penny with low health was a 1.61 million amount of damage, and Demo Penny with full health was a 1.27 million amount of damage. So we're looking at some really good numbers here, most notably almost 1.7 million, kind of teeter-tottering on that 2 million mark. Do keep in mind that these tests were done in a solo game, and I could easily hit 2 million if I had more people with me. Moving on over to the Santa's Little Helper, we're going to take a look at the perks that come on that weapon, which is a crit rating, double crit damage, and a physical with causes affliction for 6 seconds. So you'll notice that the Santa's Little Helper doesn't have the extra stunning or knocking back type of perk that gives an extra explosion, on top of not having the extra damage from being low on health. So this allowed us to get pretty consistent damage numbers. When using an Archaeologist with no support team, I was able to hit upwards of 788,000. The Metal Marauder was 876,000 at full health, and the Santa's Little Helper on a demo penny was 1.14 million, and with the Metal Marauder at full health, this was 1.27 million. So we're looking at a pretty similar amount of damage here whenever it comes to a full health Metal Marauder versus a Santa's Little Helper. You're only looking at about 100,000 damage type difference here. However, whenever we do factor into a low health Metal Marauder build, you are getting upwards of 1.61 million versus 1.14 million with the Santa's Little Helper. So that's about 500,000 damage difference, which is pretty substantial if you're going against stuff like a mini boss or the Storm King crystals. So it's a little crazy. If we go ahead and take a look at the Santa's Little Helper stats versus the Metal Marauder, we can see exactly how these two fare against each other. Now, don't mind the reload speed at the bottom. This was after I changed the Metal Marauder's perk to reload speed from that 80% bonus damage when you're low on health. So the actual reload speed is going to be 3.0 if you don't have that reload speed on there. But what we're seeing here is that the Metal Marauder has slightly more damage than the Santa's Little Helper. The Santa's Little Helper has a way more crit chance than the Metal Marauder, and if we weren't going with that reload speed perk, then the Santa's Little Helper would have a lot more reload speed than the Metal Marauder, which would be at 3 seconds. So there's two different ways that you can really go about things with the Metal Marauder, as I mentioned earlier with the reload speed. So if we're taking a look at the pros of each one of these weapons, the Metal Marauder is going to have more damage. It's also going to have nearly twice the impact, which is something that's not listed here, but it's definitely something really good for stuff like endurance. So it has more damage, it has more impact, and it has potential for even more damage with the black metal perk at the bottom at the cost of your reload speed. Now for the Santa's Little Helper, it has the pros of having more crit chance, more elements to select from, because as we know, the black metal weapons are only locked to physical and fire, and it also has better reload speed if you were going with the extra damage on the Metal Marauder. So there are two different ways that you can really go with the Metal Marauder depending on what you want to do. Now, whenever it comes to me on what I personally think is better, if you are going for pure damage per rocket, the Metal Marauder is going to wipe the floor with the Santa's Little Helper. If you were just shooting one rocket trying to get the most damage out of that one rocket, the Metal Marauder is a really good choice, but there are a lot of variables that might sway you in another direction for the Santa's Little Helper. And that of course would be the fact that you have way more consistent crit chance with the Santa's Little Helper. Now if you have Totally Rockin' Out, then you are going to be able to get that crit chance on your Metal Marauder. The only problem here is that Totally Rockin' Out is going to heal you and take away some of that potential damage from being low on your health. So there are a few different variables, more crit chance, more elements, and you also have that better reload speed if the Metal Marauder is trying to get the extra 80%. Now, if you want my personal opinion on this, it kind of depends on what your situation is, depending on what weapon you want to go with. I know that currently there's a lot of players that do not have the Santa's Little Helper. If you don't, the Metal Marauder is the perfect weapon for you. It's practically a Santa's Little Helper with more damage, but a few kind of niche shortcomings. However, if you do have the Santa's Little Helper, in my opinion, I feel as though the Santa's Little Helper would be the better choice overall. Not only are you going to be getting more consistent crit hit chance, which for a rocket, it's pretty big because you do have a pretty hefty rate of fire due to your reload, but you also will have better reload time given that the Metal Marauder is going for that black metal perk. You're also going to have a lot more choices whenever it comes to your elements, and this is going to be a really good thing not only for the Mythic Storm King so that you can swap it to physical, but also for outside of that if you're going against different enemies. However, the Metal Marauder definitely does have its place, and I'm definitely not calling it a bad weapon by any means. Just me personally as a player, I probably would go with the Santa's Little Helper over the Metal Marauder, but it's still a very, very good weapon. The fact that you can get around 500,000 damage over the Santa's Little Helper under the right circumstances is definitely something not to ignore. However, whenever it does come to rocket launchers, I just cannot stand having a really low crit hit chance whenever the rocket itself is based off of hitting those crits. That combined with a long reload time because you're trying to get the extra damage just kind of makes the Metal Marauder a little bit lackluster in certain areas. I did test it on the Storm King in my own time, and I just found that it was very inconsistent with it actually going out of its way to get those crits. And of course, like I said earlier, if you try to make up for it with Totally Rockin' Out, then you are going to be healing yourself and losing the potential damage that you have over the Santa's Little Helper. So it's kind of a little bit of a complicated scenario here, depending on the roles that you go with. If you go with the reload speed, you'll still have better damage over the Santa's Little Helper. However, your crit hit chance won't be as good, but this can be made up with Totally Rockin' Out. However, if you want to go with the all or nothing type build with the extra 80% damage, you know, you are going to be hitting extremely hard when you crit, but whenever you don't crit, it's definitely something that's going to kind of let you down because this weapon doesn't really perform that well if it's not critting on a target. So I think overall the Santa's Little Helper is just a little bit better because it's more consistent, has more usability, and it's just an overall a lot easier weapon to use. The Metal Marauder, you have to set yourself up with low health, you got to make sure you don't get healed, you can't use Totally Rockin' Out or else you miss out on that potential damage, and yeah, if you do spec it for reload speed, then you're pretty good to go, but you're still lacking on some crit hit chance. So overall, for me personally as a player, I would choose the Santa's Little Helper over the Metal Marauder. However, if you don't have the Santa's Little Helper, the Metal Marauder is the next best thing and one of the best rocket launchers in the game. I'm not sure if it's quite possibly the highest damaging rocket launcher in the game, but it very well could be that as well. I just like the Santa's Little Helper for its consistency and ease of use, and that's just me as a player. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. I really did enjoy making this video. It was definitely something kind of different from what I normally do. Normally I would have came out with just a Metal Marauder review, but doing something like this where I pit two weapons against each other for a change and kind of turn it into a review, you know, off of that as well, is a lot more interesting for me personally, and I do want to hear from you guys in the comments on what exactly you guys think, if I should do more of these in the future or if I should just stick to the normal reviews. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. It was definitely something different, and I'm sorry for the wait for it. I've just been a little too busy in the IRL, but I should be back to some consistent videos, so definitely stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. Make videos like this almost every single day. Leave a like on the video if you liked it, and I'll see you guys next time.